Okay, I am live and currently the time is 10:36 and it is New Year's Eve. So if you are watching this and it's already New Year's for you, then Happy New Year. And you should probably go to sleep. So today I am just going to recite some poetry as the thumbnail suggests. I am all cuddled up in my cozy blanket. I have some water with me here. I don't drink coffee and it's already too late for coffee anyways. And to fuel me up, I also have some almond cookies. Just 2 cookies though, not even 2. 2 and a quarter, I guess. I'll be just reciting some poetry. One of my New Year's resolution for 2026 is to go to an open mic poetry night, and to do so I feel like I need to practice some poetry before that. I have some stuff that I wrote a few months back, some stuff that is just a few weeks old, and I always just like reciting poetry. I'll try to keep my voice down because I don't know if someone is watching this and it's night for them, or you're watching this trying to go to sleep. I'll try to keep my voice low and soothing and calming as much as I can. But many times when I start reciting something, my voice gets a little passionate, so I do apologize for that. How many poems? And so I have 1, 2, 3, 4.5 poems, 2 essays, or some prose as well. So let's see how it goes. Is my voice too low though? Doesn't look like it. Is the music too loud though? Maybe a little. So let me turn that down. Okay, and everything looks good. And if someone for some reason has caught this live and you're in the chat, do not reveal who you are. I will get nervous and I will get conscious. So stay in the chat, just stay like a ninja, lurk there, but do not reveal who you are. I did for the first time post this link on my Instagram for some reason. I don't know why. Anyways, let's start with some poems. Not all of these poems are mine though. 2 poems here are one of my close friends. So I will actually start with one of his poems, which I really like, and then sort of a sequel to this poem as well. And I hope this is perfectly readable. Let me zoom a little bit. So the title of this poem is Two Ways. Lucky for me, because I am friends with the person who wrote this, I get to have like a behind the scenes of this poem. What was he thinking? Where was he when he had the idea for this poem? And I feel like, if I remember this correctly, he had written a bunch of poems, I think 4 or 5 poems, and he was reciting all of those to me, and we had to select a poem for him to recite at an open mic poetry event that he was going to, and he did a great job there. And I was the one who insisted that he should speak, or he should recite this poem. He initially did not like this poem that much. He was like, it's pretty basic, pretty shallow, pretty just surface level. But I thought that many times what happens is, when you write something, or when something creative comes out of you and you are not able to accept it, people around you who know you can see where and why it came from. I could see many of the stuff that he struggled with, and I personally connected with this poem a lot as well. So I could see where this poem came from. And then I think that after reciting it a couple of times, he also felt much more connected to this poem, and he did not disown it. So 2 ways are always there: one to live and one to die. Which one should I choose? It's all out of sight. To be or not to be, 2 ways are always there. One to live and one to die. One to say and one to write. Thoughts, emotions, heart and mind, what to choose, what is mine. Two options are always there, one to live for and one to die. What if today I choose to die? Parents, partners would break and friends might cry. The real question is, what are you escaping now? Hard work, relations, efforts or dreams, the thoughts, the feelings, the voice in the head that screams, look in the mirror, you coward. You brave enough to kill yourself and the most coward to not take the fight. Two ways are always there, one to live, one to die. Now what if life chooses me? I would have nothing to lose, no one will cry. Isn't this beautiful? To be completely free, to write your own story, another try. Two ways are always there, one to live and one to die. Oops. Yeah, I think this is just brilliantly written, and this is where I guess the crescendo of this poem is. This is where it goes on, and obviously this is inspired from, and I feel like this gives sort of the Shakespearean style of poetry, not the least because there is this quote from Shakespeare's "to be or not to be." And yeah, two options are always there, but I feel like the thesis or the conclusion of this poem is that even though there are always two options available, one to live and one to die, if life chooses you, then the other option becomes futile. It's still there, but if life has chosen you already, then yeah, the other option goes away. And there's always this seductive idea of thinking that there are always two options. I guess especially nowadays you see this quite often online and in person as well, this nihilism and this pessimistic outlook towards life, and not really appreciating it for what it might be. So yeah, this poem is a constant reminder for me and everyone who reads this that, hey, yeah, there are always two options, but are there really? So this was Two Ways. I also have this poem here printed with me as well. I always enjoy reciting this poem, and I know that the person who has written this, will eventually watch this video. He's not currently watching this, which is fine. So if you're watching this, you better record this in your own voice and put it somewhere so that I can always just go back to it and listen. Yeah, so this was Two Ways. I feel like the next best option would be what I call the sequel to this poem, which would be Four Turns. So Two Ways, and now we are at Four Turns. And this is even more Shakespearean for me, I guess. Not that I've read a lot of Shakespeare or anything. I don't even think I've only listened to two of his poems, but this does remind me of one of his poems. It just captures the cycle of something really well. That's why it reminds me of Shakespeare. Four turns. To where exactly? Who knows? All the directions he chose. Four turns. Sometimes right, sometimes left, sometimes it's the sky, sometimes into the depth. Four turns. To make a mistake one turn, it only takes. The journey goes on and on, up until the next turn is shown. Second turn. Walking, dancing, joy or grief, whether the path is downhill or steep, full of laughter and full of weep. Indecisive me, maniatic sleep, voice in the head goes louder and louder, thoughts have become crowder and crowder, let me go, let me leave, oh God, what have I done to me? Dying spark in the head screamed to burn, damn you fool, just take the turn. Third turn. I took only out of faith. From here I can see my path again. Faith, faith, faith. That's all it takes. Only the hard way. Some lessons are learned. The real mystery is when the last road turns. Will I end up where I started from? Blessed. The fourth turn I took through this poem. I think that again, I think this was one of the poems that he initially disowned or did not feel like it was as impactful as I thought it was, at least for me. But again, on the second or the third read, he warmed up to the idea that this is a genuine poem. And again, the last line, I think it captures it all for me. There's this indecisiveness that he captures in this line, that you are at a turn but you just are not taking the turn. And I think I remember him telling me that the inspiration for this poem came to him while he was driving, and he took 4 turns. And when you take 4 turns, you basically end up at the same position, but you're not the same person. You are a person who has now taken 4 turns, even if you are at the same place. So many times coming back at the same place might feel like you have not progressed, you have not changed, you have not grown. But if you took the 4 turns, then hey, you're not the same person now. He was driving and he took 4 turns. I guess he was a bit lost, and that's where he said that the idea for this poem came. And I think it's just brilliant. Faith and faith, which is something that I struggle with. It's always difficult for me to just take the leap of faith, which I think this poem sort of advocates for. The real mystery is when this last road turns. Will I end up where I started from? Blessed the 4th turn I took through this poem. Meta. Okay, perfect. Love it. Now something a bit weird maybe? Or I guess, let's connect this with this maniatic sleep that he was talking about. So let's now connect this with another prose, not a poem, but a prose of mine. Now, this is mine, and the title of this is Creative Mania and the Quiet Artist. Mania and quietness or silence are both very common motifs in many of my writings. Silence more than mania, but mania recently have come up, and especially when you have a busy life, when you're just running from one place to another, and the lack of sleep, the insomnia and the mania that it induces afterwards. And again, when I say the word mania, I don't mean it in a clinical sense, I mean it in a colloquial sense. Just that highly contagious creative energy that just wants you to make something, otherwise you feel restless. That's the mania I'm talking about. And again, I don't always talk about mania in a positive way. It can be positive, but most of the time it's, for me personally, I feel like I need to control that mania as opposed to try to induce it. And this was written in that partial mania. I am writing this in a state of partial mania, where I have the crushing creative mallet the size of a mountain in my hands, ready to strike. I am writing this in partial quietude, where the most destructive storms fizzle into nothing but a benign breeze. An artist must hold both, standing in the eye of the storm. Make one wrong step and be crushed under your own creative madness. But you cannot stand still, there are no frozen hurricanes. Move with the madness but in silence, move with the storm in an utterly aware, elegant dance. Be ready to rein in the bull with a commanding pull, otherwise surrender to the endless, inevitable trample of the uncontrollable maniac. That's the cosmic creative clash. And yeah, funny enough, I wrote this while I was sitting on the toilet, and I was getting ready to go to college, and And I was just, yeah, I had this creative energy, and then I was like, I need to write something, I need to make something, and then this came out. And many times the mania, as vast as it can seem, it fizzles down really quickly once you start making something, or once it gets disappointed. If your mania gets disappointed, then it very quickly goes away. But yeah, so some of my creations are from mania and some of my creations are from silence. So that's why this is the dichotomy between creative mania and the quiet artist. So this is sort of the preamble to all of my creative process, whether it be writing or making an artwork or anything creative really. Sometimes it comes from a place of mania where I feel restless unless I make something. And sometimes it comes from a place of satisfaction, a place of silence where I just happen to create. And many times both at the same time. Let's now do, which one do I want to do? Let's do an essay now. Why not? Let's do an essay on perfectionism. Now this has some math in it, which is another facet of, I guess, my personality. I am someone who is getting a degree in math, and for anyone watching this who is like, oh my god, this is going to be boring, I don't know, I hate math, just stay with me, okay? Don't be a baby. Just let me finish this essay. I'm sure you'll like it. It's more about perfectionism than it is about math. And again, I talk about perfectionism in all of its negative glory, its parasitic nature, its paralyzing nature, and why I absolutely hate it. So even though the word might have this sort of pseudo-positive connotation where people say that, oh, when in an interview it's the most common weakness that people, or the interviewee talks about themselves, is that, oh, I am just a perfectionist. And this is supposed to show you the actual negative sides of perfectionism. So asymptotes of perfection. Can I teach you about asymptotes? I'm going to teach you about asymptotes. You have no choice. In math, just like in real life, we have machines that we commonly just call functions. Functions, like real-life machines, come in a variety of shapes, sizes, and uses. They come with their own sets of rules and restrictions. These restrictions are often put on the sort of input that the function can handle, without failing, sometimes catastrophically. The collection of all valid inputs we call the domain. Many machines can take in all the inputs, no questions asked, no tantrums thrown, like the polite polynomial functions. Other functions outright refuse to take in vast swaths of numbers, the square roots or the logarithms, for instance. Then, there is the very ordinary looking reciprocal function. The function simply takes your input, say x, and gives its reciprocal 1 over x. This looks very unassuming, and for all but one single number, this function works great. Well, maybe not great, but it works. It gets the job done. The single number it breaks at is 0. For this function, 0 is like a black hole, where if you go, everything collapses and all math ceases to exist. Now, as interesting as it is to explore such a place in math, today I am less interested in that place exactly, but more so what happens to this machine as it tries to get increasingly closer to it. Let's open the hood and take this function for a ride by giving it some inputs from its domain. All numbers except for the forbidden 0. Let's try with an expected starting number, 1. Put 1 in the function and the function takes its reciprocal, which is still 1. So far, so uninteresting. Try 2 then, you get 1/2, with 3 you get 1/3, and you catch the pattern. As the input increases from 1 to 2 to 3 and so on, the output that our machine gives us becomes smaller and smaller, closer and closer to 0. 1, 1/2, 1/3, and it continues. But the only problem is that the steps we are taking to get towards 0 are also getting smaller and heavier. We are getting close to zero, but ever so slowly and laboriously. The perverse among you, like me, might ask, can we get to the black hole then? Can we touch zero? The answer is simple yet incomprehensible. It makes the most sense yet is purely nonsensical. It is true if you want it to be. The answer has no opinion of itself. If you put infinity in the function, then you get the zero. The only problem is that infinity is not a finishing line, but rather an endless race, a race which our little function may not survive. When you graph this function, draw it out on a paper, you see that this function really tries to get to zero. It gets as close to it as mathematically possible, seemingly spending more and more effort for diminishing results. So a place you get as close to as possible but never touch is an asymptote. For the longest time, I've been looking for this asymptotic behavior in real life. Temperature transfer from one object to another is asymptotic. Curling dumbbells, your muscle lose strength asymptotically. Trying to reach the speed of light results in an asymptote. But none of these examples I could really feel. None of them could capture the irrational connection that I had with this function, and why was I even connected with an abstract mathematical object to begin with? I also did not know. Until one day, when I was working on a presentation about a 30s rom-com, just trying to get the job done, I felt this function. To be completely honest, I became this function. I had all the slides, the scenes, the sources collected roughly, put where they belonged. 90% of the job was done. Then I thought I should make it look prettier, more presentable, trying to perfect the grade I get on this presentation. I carefully collaged all the images, added all relevant comments, and put in all the fancy transition effects, which took me more time than the original draft. But at least I was done, right? Well, only 95% done. Last, we had to record our narration for each slide and upload the final file. Easy enough, right? Right? I took 115 takes just for the first slide and a total of 374 for the whole presentation, which took me more time than I'm willing to admit. But you know what? Finally it was done. I had reached the zero. I was sitting in the black hole enjoying the quiet endlessness in pride. Or so I thought. I remembered I had a better microphone in my closet. And speaking of closets, if I record in the closet, the acoustics and my sound quality would be much nicer. So I re-recorded all the 9 slides. Oh yeah, and there were only ever 9 slides. And on my 419th take, I noticed that one of the images looked a bit blurry if I got really close to it. That's not acceptable, so I upload all my images into a photo editor, one by one edited them, sharpened the image, upscaled it to a higher resolution, spent hours more on it, and in the end, I could not even tell the difference. I thought there was a difference. I thought the difference was noticeable. I thought that this was the last step that would make my grade perfect. Fuck the grade, I thought this was the last step that would make my presentation perfect to me. That's when it hit me. That's when I found the function in real life. I found it in me. I smiled first, then chuckled a bit, then uploaded the presentation, which was half recorded with a crappier mic, half with a good one, half with the marginally blurrier pictures, half with the supposedly clearer ones. It was near perfect because perfect is not a real place. Perfect is a black hole. It's not the reciprocal function anymore. It has become the perfectionist function to me. And if you ever notice this little function, be kind to it. It's trying its best. And so are you. See, I told you there's not a lot of math in this. I would say that there's only one paragraph maybe which had actual math in it. Now this is actually a real function. You know what, I can probably even show you this function on my iPad. Let's see. Desmos. And after writing this essay, it really became one of my favorite functions, because it is really so if you have this function which is simply x, you get this very boring looking line, and if you take 1 divided by x or 1 over x, you get this function. And again, as it tries to get closer and closer to this 0 line, the inputs that you have to put in become bigger and bigger and bigger. And yeah, this is the reciprocal function. Yeah. And my essay on perfectionism. And I honestly hate to admit that this is more true than I like it to be. This did happen. I did spend this much time on a presentation, and again, this is where the absurdity of perfectionism comes in. It's not about perfectionism, it's about obsession with details, obsessions with things that don't matter in the end. And even for this collection of writings that I have here today, it really took a lot in me to not have the font in all of them, and the font sizes in all of them, and the font width in all of them be the same, so that obsessiveness still wanted to come in. But after having this essay in this collection today, I felt like I needed to control my perfectionism and just let things be. And again, in the end, I probably don't even think that you noticed that some of the fonts were different. And if you even noticed that, I don't think that you cared that much. So that was Asymptotes of Perfection. I really like this essay. Yeah, I mean, if I'm being really honest, this is not the first time that I'm recording this live. This is probably like my 7th time doing it, but all the rest I never made public or deleted, or for one reason or the other. Even yesterday I was live, but my mic, I just forgot to plug it in. And in that recording, I even mentioned that I would keep it up unless there's something drastically wrong with the recording, which there was, unfortunately. But honestly, it's fine. There's always a silver lining. And speaking of silver linings, I have probably one of the weirdest thought pieces, prose that I've written, not even an essay. So for me, what is curious is that for me, a title comes before the body of the paragraph or the poem itself. For me, it's always the title first, and then whenever I have time, I see how I can expand and explore this title. Sometimes that exploration happens as a poem, sometimes it's prose, sometimes it's an essay, and rare at times it might be a story. And so for this one, the title is just this semi-cliche line, which is "Diamonds don't need a silver lining." Sounds cheesy, no? A quote you might find next to the live, laugh, love poster in the most generic script font in an even more generic home decor store. But it's true though. Diamonds do not need a silver lining. So what's your point then? Not to look for silver linings and to look for diamonds instead? Or better yet, be the diamond? I couldn't possibly tell you, because I possess no diamonds and I am blind to any silver linings. Is this a statement about being positive to an absurd entirety of a situation, to see the glass full and empty at once and somehow finding virtue in both? It may be, it may not. Or both. I paint and see grief in my painting. Someone else is convinced it's silent rage. Third sense is a bliss in the eyes. And then there's the one who sees right through the painting, staring into the hollow mirror, killing my painting and all of me's. For fuck's sake, is it about the infinite interpretation of the endlessly subjective nature of art? Disillusioned dance of the drunk egos? I don't know. But tell me, who is the subjective and who is the objective, a rock or a diamond? And does the rock's belief amorphize or crystallize when a mountain sits on him, and are the diamond's screams subjective or objective when she is chiseled alive? A phrase like this comes both from above and below, the conscious and the subconscious. It is owned by the author, who is now owned by his creation. It is at once meeting, departing, and longing for reuniting. It is like an innocent child nurtured into being the tiger mother, cutting and healing with each moment passing. In more ways than can be written, it takes the role of being the perfect teacher. Here he goes again on frustrating metaphorical tangents. Is this about the inception of thought, of the being, the great big bang of the mind? Oh, so pure and illuminous, idealized into a false shadow of the God. What was, what is, and what will be, all until death meets the mind at the Last Supper, ending the creator, the creation, and the dream in between. Words are the ultimate shapeshifters. I am made to see in them whatever my desire desires. Kill the desire, then do the words prevail? How evil can the word evil be without me eyeing it menacingly? When the spectators sleep, good and evil get to go on a long overdue playdate. Words are tools, not souls. They are crafted, not unearthed. They are meant to serve a purpose and cease to exist once used. The hammer does not cry when it hits my finger. I do. Words don't start wars or make peace happen. I do. In a letter to my dead mother, the words don't even shed a tear, but I weep. It's all eyes all the way down. What's above it then? Perhaps no words, nor anyone to speak. Let's just end it then. It's abundantly clear that you and I both cannot decipher this dazzling quote. So why even bother? Everyone's gonna find their own silver linings and sleep. So again, as I said, this is perhaps one of my weirder writings. It's just, I don't even know what's the point of this in the end. I guess there were just many chaotic thoughts that just sort of crystallized into this. There is the idea of inception of thought. There is the subjective, endlessly subjective nature of art, disillusioned dance of the drunk egos, whatever that's supposed to mean. There's the beginning of a thought. There's words and their meanings, and this essay has two speakers. There's the one who came up with the quote, and there's the one who is inquiring about the quote. And for some of the essay, I feel like I am the one who is inquiring about the quote, and then sometimes I feel like I'm the one who is on the side of this quote, which again, the quote does not really matter. Diamonds don't need a silver lining. It's just like a quirky cliche quotes from somewhere. But yeah, I really just like how my friend did not connect with his work, Two Ways or Four Turns, as much as I did, and on his second or third recitation of that work he connected with it more. Same happens with this mess for me. The more I recite it, the more I feel like it has something to give me. So yeah, this is perhaps the most weird writing that we would read this night. But anyways, I hope you are having a great new year as well. And if you're watching this, I do want to know if you have any New Year's resolutions. And do you even have New Year's resolution? And if you had any New Year's resolution for 2025, were you able to complete them? And did it even matter that you completed them, or was it good enough for you to just have the resolution and just be like halfway, do it halfway, okay, and that's fine? For me, again, the only resolution that I have is that I want to recite one of these poems at like an open mic poetry something. I tend to just keep all of my writing in a vacuum and just use them as a tool for therapy and just exploring my own thoughts and creative processes, and never really share them. But in a conversation with the same friend whose poem I recited at the beginning, we ended up with this idea of being or having the onus of of always giving a good farewell to our creation, whether it be an art piece, a music piece, or something that we wrote. Because this writing helps me a lot keep my creative mania down, help me explore things, challenges me. So I think that's the least I owe it, to give it a good enough farewell. Yeah, let's do this one. This is an interesting one. This is more prose than poetry, but it is somewhere in between. This was perhaps one of the more healing poems for me. Sometimes I have an idea already in mind, and all I want to do is just bottle up the idea or the feeling and just put it in words. Sometimes I don't know where this will go, and in the last paragraph it changes up completely, and it is more of a challenge to me, and it can sometimes leave with the healing effect. So the title of this is pretty interesting. It says, "Don't describe me, I might die." A cacophony of emotions flare up when I get described. Some makes me want to attack, some has me defeated in disbelief. Do it enough times and I cannot ensure I will survive. So don't describe me, I might die. When you describe things to me that I know, it stings. When you describe things to me that I have kept locked in the basement of my subconscious, that is a dagger of death. So please don't describe me, I might die. I am unique, I am indescribable. I hiss this not in ego but in an innocent denial of being ordinary. I am an open book who hates to be read. So read me not, I might die. When you explain me to me better than me, what claim of me is left for me to take? Don't have me stand naked in front of me, so please don't describe me, I might die. Though as painful as it is to be skinned alive, what I lose was never mine. What grows I cannot squeeze in my fist. Something larger than me, something not me, shows itself in place of my carcass. So do describe me. Now I want to die. A bit weird, but really true to what I feel sometimes. I think if I had to summarize this poem in one sentence, it would be this hypocrisy here. I am an open book who hates to be read. There's always this false facade of always being open about my emotions and anything that you want to talk about. It's always an open conversation, but some things I would always keep hidden in the basement of my subconscious. And when someone was able to describe those things to me better than me, that's where it felt like I would lose that part of myself. And at first it hurt. At first I thought that it was bad for me. I would lose my quote personality, all the stuff that did the music end? It did. Let me loop this. So all the stuff that I would think made me, I would hold on to tighter and tighter. But when someone would describe that part of me, whether it be a good thing or a bad thing, it would just sever it from my personality. And after a while you lose aspects of your personality that you thought or that you kept really close to yourself. And again, I always thought it was a bad thing, but after finishing this poem, it leaves space for something more cloud-like, something more amorphous to grow in its place in the carcass of what you thought you might have been. Because there is no you somewhere out there. So you explore and express things much more freely when you leave your personality. Yeah, so this is an anti-personality poem, I guess. So don't describe me, I might die. Maybe do describe me from time to time. I may just survive. But it is still hurtful though. it still hurts. So don't do it nicely. Oh no, I think the only two poems left are both much more, I guess, emotional is the word, and much more recent as well. Only a few weeks back. Oh no. The iPad froze, which is weird. Let me try to fix it. Okay. Close this. Of course, I cannot go without having technical issues while I go live. Please connect. No. Huh. That's weird. Guess I'll just have my cookie then. I may need to restart everything to make it work. I guess this is the intermission. Hey, I will see you once I figure this thing out. I hope it'll just resume the live stream. Hey, we'll see. The perfectionist in me wants to just restart and redo everything, but after having read my own essay, it'll be hypocritical for me to do that, so I'll just restart the stream. And yeah, I guess whoever is watching this now or in the future, just take a break, get a cup of coffee or just a sip of water, and then I'll see you after.